start.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, the Lamentation more, I can't even remember what I called this. It's a very big topic, and I'm taking sort of a narrow view as a chance to try some of the fingernail techniques that are named by O Neil and other harpers and largely demonstrated presumably by Dennis O'Hampsey on his downhill harp. This is the story as we have it, and I'll put it that way. And we'll look at some pictures of what Bunting published here that relate to this matter, and then I've got some sound files to listen to. And then we'll go into actually playing, and it won't take long, most 10 minutes, maybe less. So we can open in the front, in the, pardon?
Tell me what you want to see.
In the opening of Bunting, one of his first pieces is this, Irish Cry. And what is circled there is the use of the 4-chord as harmony, the chord of the subdominant. And elsewhere, Bunting says that the harpers did not play this chord. So just to show that here it is in the music. And it also appears in other pieces, but this is something that I think is really important in the ear, hearing the harmonies that are used. But in this Lamentation chorus, can that enlarge at all or not? Can we go in close? He shows a lot of staccato notes, you see, on the way through. And he has big, long ringing chords, and with the 10th in the chord, with the 3rd in the middle, there's a lot of harmony going on in this. Okay, next one. And so I have a sound sample to go with that, but I want to listen. And this is from the manuscript pages, O'Donnell's March. And there's arranged versions, but this is the earliest, the most simple we have in the draft of the melody written down. And he maintains that melody in his arrangements.
So that is.
Yeah. And you'll see at the bottom it says Marvna O'Neill under there, and it's sort of interesting because the position that Bunting publishes, O'Donnell's March, it immediately precedes this Lamentation chorus, Irish Cries, chorus of sighs and tears, things like that, and the Galls, which is a type of cry, and they're both written in the same key. No, he publishes this in D with 2 sharps, and the cries are in C. But I found it interesting, Marvin O'Neill. Now what happened, okay, it's an O'Neill year, and O'Donnell's March is associated elsewhere. He says it's gotten from O'Neill, not because of the statement at the bottom of the page. Elsewhere it's collected from O'Neill. And then the Ulster Cries, he attributes to an old manuscript, singers in Ulster or Armagh, and Arthur O'Neill, yeah? And so this is sort of interesting, and that's all I'll say right now about it. But O'Donnell's March, when he publishes, it appears right before the Irish Cries. So when I was picking pieces, and I actually, a year before, I'd wanted to play that Lamentation chorus with the staccato notes before, but couldn't work it in. And I didn't really want to play it on its own, and I was looking for an O'Neill piece that could possibly lead into this Lamentation chorus. And didn't I pick O'Donnell's March, which I'd never played before, and it took me a long time to get a taste for the tune and decide, okay, I'll play that one. And lo and behold, then I was really kind of shocked and embarrassed that here in Bunting it was published one after the other, you know, and then Marvin O'Neill. So coincidence, probably, but interesting to me anyhow, that I happened to pick the piece, and maybe I knew Bunting better than I thought, but I don't spend much time in there. I think it was the only one suitable, you know, couldn't go after a carillon tune or a song air. And a march, clan march, is better followed, and this is typical of descriptive pieces. They will start with a march melody and a storyline and go through the battle and the cries and the choruses. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Next picture. And this is what he publishes for, and that we're going to listen to this piece be played on piano. And this is, and it starts with da dum da da dum da da dum da 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 dum ba dum. Same thing, an octave lower. And this is known as Scoil na Vrasanar, and it's the cry of the women who yet Bunting does it in a very major mode, and I treated it that way at first too, and then I just treat it both ways, using A minor instead of C major, etc., to get more of a lamentation sound. But so I'm making a descriptive piece of this and use it major to begin with, and this is sort of what Bunting is doing with this. He does this cry, and then the gall, and then the lamentation. You'll hear this, and it goes on. There's more pages here. And the melody, sorry, the melody, I have to go back one more time, sorry. The melody up there follows this descending. It goes up to the top, and he only does a run of 4 notes there, but up to the top note, and then it descends slowly down to C. So it starts at A and does this pentatonic run down. And that's the same pattern that is done in that very first opening piece with all the staccato notes in. Very same pattern. Different notes running to it, but essentially that's what the piece does. Okay, next page, thanks. And then it goes da 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 dum da 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 dum again. And then it follows the next part to the double bar line. It goes, when it goes high in the middle of the page, it goes back with that descending pentatonic run again, yeah? And he does little, arpeggio things in there. You'll hear that in the recording. Next page. And then he does back and forth like this, and we'll try different things to imitate that, but in a more harpistic way and using harp techniques. And now you'll see what I mean when you hear this play by a historical piano player, pianoforte player, who is next. Let's see, are we getting beyond ourselves? And this is the last page. And da da dum da 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 dee dum da dum da da dum da 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 dum da 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 da. That's a melody also that he brings into this. So I decided to bring it in too, and so that's a part of it, and everything else sort of follows this whole pattern. That's what I use. And you can go get the melodies from this piece. The main thing we're going to do today is work on different ways of playing that lamentation, the cry bit. So I think now we can listen. Are we to that yet, or do we have one more?
No, that's it.
That's it. Okay, so there we are. We can listen, and what you're going to listen to is what we looked at first, that first lamentation or keen that has all the staccato notes that's in the opening part of Bunting. Then we will go to O'Donnell's March, and then into what's published in Bunting. This is all what Bunting published, and then the lamentation chorus, the Irish cries there, that's done as a separate piece. So they're done separately, and I think, if I remember correctly...
We can try and keep the page up while it's playing.
I don't want to, because I'll tell them what it is, but I don't want people to try to sight read it. I want you to listen, just to get an impression of it. I don't want you to try to follow and, oh, did they repeat here, or anything like that, or I got lost, and then you're not listening. So it just isn't even worth... just get a sense of the music and the pieces. So this is that first opening piece with the staccatos. And they're fairly close to tempo. So, not strictly metronomically, but close enough. We lost the speaker?
Yeah.
batteries? Play it one more time here.
Should we try again and see if we can get it working?
What are the boop boop?
It goes almost wrong.
To use Bluetooth?
Yes, please. Use this device. Okay, next.
Yeah, this is O'Donnell's March now. Now it's really, sorry. There we go, that's O'Donnell's March, and now here's the chorus, the big lament piece that in itself is sort of like a little descriptive piece on its own without the march in front. This is the gall that Lamentation chorus, the staccato and the pattern. Sad part. That melody, that added one that I tried to sing at the end. So that's, we can go on, so now he, one more here. This is,
This one?
yeah, just don't start it quite yet. This, there's a lot of people who have looked at these lamentation choruses, and this is one that O'Madigan chose, and we've also heard Lillis O'Leary doing it, and O'Curry talks about it, and this is a version. It's a descending pattern, very much the same. It's Charlie, and we were putting it between verses of doing the lay of Fadan Lagan Clonushnut. It's of the final lay of Deirdre. So it just shows harp in it. I apologize, the harp is too loud in this. It was recorded and the microphone was by the harp. And so you'll have to listen to, and what you're listening for is for the voice here, okay? And just one example, we put 3 in various places, but here we go. Uh-oh.
It's not happy, is it?
No. Can you go back to the original file that you have and try it there? Or,
Look at this. Let's try again.
did you listen to it already? Was,
Bear with me. Right, where are we?
we call it a cone chorus. A cone is sung with this. That's it. We're done with the cone there. So just in a cone and between a deal. So that's really a fast overview of this type of thing. And we'll go back and look at a few more slides and then we'll get into playing. Forward. Yeah. And he publishes, all of this is from various manuscript pages. These are printed out from microfiche. They're not all available to you. And we're not, just to get an impression of how much he worked on this and how arranged it is, just go through. Go ahead, Simon, take a look. That's the one, see the trebles going up. This is writing so the publisher can set it, look at something an octave lower. See, he writes down there. There's things to be gleaned in looking at this and comparing, but to me, this wasn't my primary interest. I went right back to just sort of the basic melody and what seemed accessible on the harp. But, you know, all of this deserves really close work. Go ahead. And again, that's the staccato. He starts staccato on one note and then he goes into sort of neighboring, I'll call it trill, for neighboring da-da-da-da-da-da-da kind of things. Now you can just go through. And this page, it's in pencil, didn't come out well. The microfiche of this is very old and hard to see through. The original is from, at Queen's would be easier to see and legible. Go ahead. And this looks like a slightly earlier arrangement. Again, towards publishing. You can go on. Just to keep going, these are all different pages, every single one. And this is from O Neil the Harper, and at Armagh from the hired mourners or keeners. and out of an ancient manuscript about a century old. So you see that general category, you know, that gave me freedom, I guess. Okay.
Where's that page from?
It must
The
say in
title's
your,
at the top, 13, entry 13, 33B.
see, and those aren't available, like, online, they're not published. And now, here, that, I wrote this down, it says somewhere on the page, Irish Cry is sung in Ulster, sung by the principal singer and assembly at the
Birth of the deceased.
at the birth of the
And
deceased.
recount-
That
and
would be,
recounts the birth
that
of
would-
the deceased.
that would be on their original birthday. You'd do it in memorial. On the birthday of the deceased, and then from an old manuscript, he's listing it as,
O'Neil, it is
Oh,
O'Neil the
Arthur
Harper
O'Neil in-
at Belfast in 1799.
99, yeah. There, I wrote it down at the bottom what it says.
Oh yes.
And what does it say on the right lower there? It's something, the first and second keeners, so they have different keeners doing these parts, you know.
But where did these handwritten annotations come from?
They're on the page, and I've written in what
Oh.
it says so I can read
Are
it.
they in pencil?
Yeah, I've
So
written
they
in
come through
in
this-
pencil, but or they didn't show up. But I've gone through the manuscripts and written down notes, you know, that seem important in my notebook of it. I was more complete on what I consider Dennis O'Hampson sections, but still, and Colette has a lot of these in her catalog, so you know you can put them with the pieces too.
From an ignorant point of view, can I ask, why is it Ulster based so much?
Well, there were, the last of the harping in Ireland was in Ulster, and there were a lot of traditions up there kept alive, and this is just where it was collected as well. There are Irish cries elsewhere, and you'll see it, but yeah, it's very, this is where Bunting is, and where he got this material.
I think just the physical difficulties of traveling long distances.
Well,
might have
yes,
prevented people from further south.
Yes,
going down.
yes, yes. And, you know, we'll keep moving on here with, these are all the first Gaul, what's published in Bunting if you look at it, and then he arranges it. But these are all towards the arrangements of it, and keep going. Quick with spirit. But I didn't mark all the four chords in here, but you can hear they're in, most of it is very major mode, you know. And keep going. And he has chromatic note, there's some in here, this is Irish Choir Ulster. Now this is a Cohen he's written at the end, I can't, or is it
No,
variations?
this is bass. Bass 2 more.
It's hard to see from here, can't really tell from here. Two more
This,
Bars.
well,
Bass.
you're saying BASS,
bars.
Could be
Two-
Bars. 2 more bars, yeah.
two more bars of bass, yeah. Bass, it looks a lot like variations to me, but
Or
that is a
variations,
bass.
two more. It's variations.
Oh yes.
Is it
variations.
variations?
Yeah, that's the way I always
Bars,
write
yes,
stuff. Yeah,
bars.
two more variations.
Very good.
Now, this is published, let's see what year, I'm supposed to have this year down. This was published before. This is Butwin Walker. And here he does Battle of Aughrim, and then he has the cries. He has, you see, Connacht, Munster, etc. And this was something that people were interested in. And this type of thing is used in the Bas Alistrum, the famous piece for Uilleann Pipers about the death of Alistair MacDonald, who was captured and killed while a prisoner crossing a stream, and that was news of his death. Now, Alison Kinnaird has that it was brought back to Scotland, the piece by two Harpers, and she was given from the Patrick O'Neill Pádraig O'Neill manuscript that has recently surfaced, but the person who had it gave it to her back in the 80s to play, gave her a facsimile copy of it. But this was just something people would do, and go ahead, because I promised we'd keep this short so we can play. So these are the various cries in here. Go ahead to the next page. Okay. Oh, we didn't extend that out, okay, because that went a few more pages.
No, you only had 2.
Okay, oh, I didn't even know we were on the second one. And this is a little simpler where he's just getting the melody here, yeah.
From an old manuscript, he says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the
It's interesting how
sources
many of
from
these come
old
from old
manuscripts.
manuscripts rather than from live performance.
Well, not many. I mean, when he
He
says,
writes that quite a few of them.
well, he copied from Neil, but on,
Yes.
and he said on this piece, he claims from an old manuscript, and we've got, what, 3 or 4 pages from an old manuscript, yeah. And I haven't identified what old manuscript it is or tried
This one as well.
to link it up, yeah. But yeah, and these are in a row, 73, these are. And here, that's when they are doing the microfiche, when they were photocopying it. Okay, is that it? No?
No, it's
Okay,
got-
from Mrs. Blessed, so that's a singer.
It's got
from
words as
here.
well. Look, Occo, Nocco,
Yeah,
Nocco.
yeah.
Clapping of hands.
Yeah, that's interesting, the clapping of hands
And
with it.
sobbing is at the top as well.
Mhm, mhm. Now he goes Lamentation or Kua here, and
It's the
that
best.
even that you could argue a long time. I'm not even going to go there, or not even argue, discuss, look further, contemplate.
That's the last one.
Okay, harps. This is a playing workshop here, and I'll hand out for those of you who it's useful to look at. Not that we will restrict ourselves to these pages, but it is very, to refer back to these and try things to give you ideas might make sense, or to justify or to alter. Just to remember, this is from Bunting, this is from Edward Bunting, from his publication, but it's via Armstrong. Bunting's directions on how to play these figures is done in very small print and footnotes, and Armstrong made it larger type and moved them up to the descriptions, so it's much easier to deal with. So I generally would prefer to do Bunting's version of this just because it's the original, but it gets hard to work with the fine print, so I typically use Armstrong. He keeps the typesetting the same. Most of you are familiar with this.
Do you want me to hand these out for you? I'll do it for you.
Thanks, Siobhan. And one page for the
Yeah,
second
I'll
here.
pass them out.
Yeah, and page 1 and 2 are front and back, and then alone to the third side. And there's my page. No, I sort of missed
Is there a spare
this.
with a double-sided one? Because Jane's got a dodgy copy.
Is there a spare? I'm sure.
I can
There is. Take that. Do you need
share
this?
or pass
Jane.
because I got
Jane.
some.
Got a dodgy copy.
Yeah, I lost my front page. If
It's the same one.
this, I didn't catch this as it went by the screen, but there's a manuscript page of the Keenan Beggar Little Cry from manuscript 27.
Did you give
and
yours up?
I
I
think,
can give mine out.
Simon, in the list of pieces, do we have manuscript 27 folio
I'll check
1B?
it in a second.
Okay.
Here's a dodgy one, if there's anybody who's somebody's got it.
Yes.
Okay. This is the best that we could interpret from what we have of the copy. This is page 1 and 2, And here we tried to interpret what is here, just the melody alone and not the bass. So if you take a look, this is just for easy reading, and I want to see if it got in this list of pieces. But you'll see the chromatics that are impossible to play, and these graces here. And this is really hard to read, you know, from the original. And this was the best guess of what the notes might be. Just the single line melody.
Copy, so I'm just sort of showing it around.
And you see where he's adding chromatics that wouldn't be
You won't be
possible.
able to see this, is it?
Yeah, yes, and I'm going this
is
way.
one copy.
This is what Siobhan is showing you, just melody only,
Okay.
from the same thing, just total guesses. But, you know, the obvious F sharp that couldn't be there.
Is this
Mhm. You could put it right there, yeah.
87 1B?
Yep.
That's what I said, isn't it?
It's not.
That's from manuscript
Oh, I
27,
see. Third system down, sorry. I was looking at the
Uh,
top of the page.
folio 1V.
Yes. It's the same as that.
And I guess the point I'm trying to make is we have multiple sources, and the influence of one or another over another, you have that to deal with, things that the harpers can't play. And yet you have Patrick Byrne, a description of him playing Brian Boru's march as a descriptive piece of the battle and the death and dancing and marching. And pipers were doing this, and again, this isn't to be exhaustive on this, but I decided to treat this as such. But I also wanted it to have more of a real flavor and storytelling for what it is. Bunting has things in this piece that aren't possible in the harp, and I think in many cases he's trying to imitate the harp style, but here I think he was trying to show off the piano as an instrument. And we have to remember that he was a dealer in Broadwood pianos, and he was an expert at the use of their new pedal system, which helped him articulate and play various things on the instrument. So we have to keep that in mind. It gained him, he was welcome in the houses of English nobility because of his association with the piano, and that probably allowed him to do his publishing as well. And he got the Broadwood family involved in the music, interested in the music. So what I would like to do is, first of all, just work on the Lamentation chorus. And so if you look at the page I just handed out, you've got the great stream, or the through more on the front page. Do we have any pages left, or did I hand them all out?
You should have your blank one.
Yeah. I have my blank ones, but not the last sheet, but that's okay. Thank you, thank you. So you'll see through more midway down the first page, descending, and we're going to look at the ascending one. And you see pieces occurring in manuscript versions of laments, and it's remarked that there'd be a sweeping up going up to the high note at the end of a lament. And I think it can also introduce a lament. You'd go from like the chorus and then up to there, and then it's the acone coming down. So I think that maybe they play into each other. But so when I play it, if you heard me play it in the concert, instead of this note up to C, which Bunting uses, I think it's 4 in the published version, I start way down here, yeah, up to there, and I use the great stream from here, and I put an A minor chord here. I'm not doing a, I'm not doing a, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the minor chord. Now, Bunting, if you go to page too that, it's on the back side of your page 1. You have the Croc and Var. Siobhan, correct me when I'm off base.
Crotach and ver. Crotach
Croc
is the shaking,
ver
ein
is
is
one.
one, and ver is of the finger.
Crotach
Crotach
and
and
ver.
ver. The shaking of one finger.
Now, what am I doing here? When I do the run, first of all, I'm going to jump back to the stream. I do the stream, I'm sorry to jump all over here, but it's in one motion. I do the stream, I do it with 2. And I drag 3 and 4 behind, and depending on how closely I drag, it can be very sort of staccato-y or more ringy, and more if you want more ringy, you just let it go long, but it's nice instead of, you know, that's not very satisfying. So this is the shape of my hand. This is the shape of my hand. And look at this finger. See, it's floppy. Do you see? Like this. And that allows me to do the great stream. See the floppy? I'm very tense here. This is very strong. This is not going to go wobbly on me at all. Yeah? And I keep this 4 here for a position. It reminds me of standing and lifting a leg, you know, like the woman's getting a kiss kind of stance. And you see? And it bounces along and this damps. If you want it waterier, don't put 4 on. 4 makes it crisper. 3, dragging, is a little freer, is more legato and slightly ringy. Now the way I like to play this, and up here it's high on the harp, and I'm happy with my hand being on the, but I use my hand. This is the joint you want to move because you don't have to move far to get the action here. If you're bending in this joint trying to move it, it's too difficult if you're moving your finger. So I like to keep my finger really stiff now. Now I'm not letting this flop. And you don't want to let this flop back, you know, hyperextended that way. And on this, and I land on the string above. So it's on the string above and the back of the nail this way. So on this side, you land on the string above and then back of the nail this way. So it's forward, landing on the string above, back of nail, forward, back. And I have 3 on, helps stabilize it, yeah? Now when I first started, I thought that this was an alternative, coming up and using, you know, pretending you're holding like a guitar or mandolin plectrum or something and going da 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 da. But this is better, and this is similar to the trio, the shakes that South American harpers do. And it's quite easy with 2. Now, the position, I like to have my finger almost up and down. I don't want to be this way on it, but you have to play your own fingernail, your own hand shape, the size and positioning, the angling of your top strings, the length of them. So try to find what works with your hand, and I'm just telling you what seems to work for me here, and the best, and you can read the description of what Bunting says, but that's good. Now, he also says it can be done with 3 or 4, and in this first Lamentation chorus that he publishes, not in the second one, but the first one in the front, he does all of this, and this is what I prefer to play because I'm trying to learn this. So, there's 3, and here's 4. But in the Lamentation chorus, it's a long shake, then just 2, da 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 da, da da, and then another long one. And so, I'm not perfect at it yet by any means, but I could do 3 here, and 3 again is easy enough because you're out here. And then 2, and then 2 again. And I just go between E minor and A. And it's 3, 3, 2. And any sort of A minor that, or I like to be up here. Now I also like to use this hand to help out my, this is a gentleman hand. So if I do this chord up here, the A minor up here, bass hand thumb, back to the index finger playing it. Sorry. This chord. I could do this back to the treble finger. I could do that so easily. Thumb, back to the long. So am I going to do that and do it all with this hand, or? And really one could do it, there's reasons for doing it either way, and I don't know the answer to this, so I try both ways and see. And he does say that 2 and 3 and 4 would be used. 3 works really well, and 3 works better on the heavier strings. Up on the top strings, they're thinner, and your index finger and your nail, this is really suitable for the top strings. 3 is already a little heavy, but if you're down to this low note, it really works well with 3 or 4, yeah? And 2 is tired, and 2, the heavier string here is going to wear out your more delicate index fingernail, yeah? And so maybe they did it with 2, 3, or 4, depending on which nail is the best, yeah? And maybe I can do both and use my bass hand there. I mean, it's just really nice for those 2, and it's better and easier to play when I don't have these on, when my thumbnail is good. This gives and moves a bit, so it is, and I catch on the edges is, kind of blocky for something light. You can imagine a guitar mandolin pick that's this thick. It's too thick. So that's really what I see. So the pattern is ya da dum ba da dum ba da dum ba da dum ba da dum ba. Yeah? Just that little pentatonic run. So now, what else could we do with this? 3, 2, 4, 2. So this I'm doing 3, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2. The trill 3, and then I take over with 1, doing 1, 2, 3. So I'll do it into it. And on this, I'd maybe go lower. So try 3, 2, 4, 2 on this. Try it on before you're doing it in the, do it up here. 3, 2, 4, 2. 3, 2, 4, 2. 3, 2, 4, 2. And 3 learns to replace, to go again if one needed to. 3, 2, 4, 2. It's in the Bunting, written in the pages here from Armstrong. This is down under shakes. It's a style of the barloo. At the bottom of page 1, the style of the barloo.
That's 3, 2, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, and then maybe back with 3.
I would say barloo Bjallenard makes more sense. It's the style of that one. Open-ended on the top.
Support yourself again, 3, 2, 4, 2. Maybe no thumb on 3, 2, 4, 2. That's it. And so that's what he calls a barley.
And how fast if you're playing this a lot, It's hard to play very quickly. And it's interesting, the Welsh way in Robert Ap Hugh is 3-2-4-1,
Don't count your thumbs.
which just seems easier. And I wonder why are they different? And did the Irish have both ways and then only write down the one by now? Was it to keep the blocky thumb out of it? Was it, did you place the thumb and just do 3-2-4-2 with the thumb placed on the string above? There are many questions on what one might do. And people tend to prefer whatever they practice a lot of. What they get used to, they learn how to do. So I try to do a number of things and I kind of remain undecided, and maybe that's because I try different things. So I'm always looking for responses from people, you know, why you like or what you don't like. And maybe there were different ways of doing it through different times.
We discussed this earlier, didn't we, to a minor extent, in that there are several ways you can play that bar loop, in that you, Robert Ap Hugh, as Siobhan was saying, you can play it with a thumb down stroke to finish, so...
Yeah, with a thumb rest stroke.
With the breath
Yeah.
with the thumb dampened onto the lower string.
Yeah. To me, I prefer using the thumb that way a lot, certainly. And on Bunting on page 1 for the lega annuus, a falling, that's it. You play with your index finger and thumb rest stroke with 2 to damp the upper one. And did they use this concept more than in just this one instance? That's another question.
Talking about Bunting and Robert Ap Hugh.
Robert Ap Hugh, we don't see, that's a Welsh harp tablature.
It makes a big difference whether you've got fingernails or fingertips on how the balance of these works and which ones work better and which ones worse.
And it's interesting that Bunting says these were from their practical application. The terminology is collected from O Neil and others, and their practical application is learned from the strings of the downhill harp, Dennis O'Hampsey's harp.
He doesn't really say that.
Well, it does say that, but it's in the preface, and you're thinking it was written by someone else, and it's
but
possible.
in the description of the table, it says it was taken from Hempson, O'Neill,
O'Neill.
Fanning,
Yeah, lots
and
of
others. So these tables seem to be a mixture
Yeah,
of
he-
nail and tip techniques.
Well, that could be, but also in the introduction, it
Yeah,
says
that
very
preface is-
clearly the practical application is from the strings of the downhill harp. And he might have meant with others that he came up with the name, because elsewhere he says in the glossary, this came from Arthur O'Neill and others, and so he's giving them credit too where they're applied. And maybe they did play some of them, but not all of them. Yeah, it's a mystery, but it does have that from O'Hampsey's harp, and some of these are, as Simon said, fingernail.
Some of them are
techniques.
fingernail ones.
Yeah,
It's
some
clear
are
that
very
of them
clearly.
fingertip ones, yeah.
Some could be either, I don't
Well,
see
how
that
can-
any of
how
these
can
are
you say,
fingertip
Simon,
and
that
not
some of
half.
them- How
What?
can you say that some of them are with
Because
certainty?
because he says that they were collected from Hampson, O'Neill, Fanning. And
Oh, so you assume, but we don't know which ones.
But
No,
no,
we don't know which ones are from who,
but
or whether they shared
I'm
the
so
same
sorry,
ones,
it's a new
or,
phone, I've no idea how to solve
or whether they had different ones. You know,
Oh, right,
this
okay.
is the kind of thing I'm thinking about now.
Right,
is
okay.
but
we need to try them all both ways and see what we think.
yeah, but he says that, and he collected the terms themselves from O'Neill and the other harpers. So he might only be referring to that, and he does say
No,
the
that's not true,
practical
that's not-
application.
No.
You don't see
You're
that.
misreading the preface, I think. The preface is not related to the tables specifically in the way that the description of the tables specifically says these gestures come from O'Neill.
He never uses the word gesture.
These things in the tables.
Great, the
No, you're right, he
graces,
doesn't use the word
yes,
gesture.
yeah.
Whatever we're calling it, the graces,
Yeah.
that's right, that's what he calls them.
Yeah,
To return to our previous discussion, I think the point I was sort of trying to raise is that which orientation you go through the cycle of each grace is actually has an impact on where your hand places at the end.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And that feels like that's the key to which form you use it. I would suggest maybe you be able to use all of them, and it depends which direction your hand wants to go, whether your hand needs to come out from the string, whether it needs to stay close to the string. That
And what effect it has, what note is better accented or not. And I'm thinking about not using the thumb, doing 3, 2, 4, 2, if you're doing it really high and you're on harps. Now remember, these are dimension-wise built to size, but the necks aren't super wide, and it can be really hard to get your hand, even with left hand high, which they were playing up here on the short strings. So if you're playing 3, 2, 4, 2 up here, you don't have to get your thumb in, whereas if you're doing this up here, to get your thumb in, it's very close. Can you do it? And can I do it on say a Bunworth versus, remember that the Apu is its main instrument that it is for is a Gothic Bray harp and long string lengths, and it does not go as high. When this is developed, the top note of the 24 or 26 string Gothic Bray harp is at least an octave lower from the Irish harp. Yeah? So the strings are this long at the top, 6 to 8 inches long at the top is really where they could be, instead of 3, yeah? Instead of, 3, yeah. So it's easier to get the thumb in, so that plays really well into it, what you want your hands to do. And yet, I don't want to just mix Welsh technique just freely into Irish and vice versa. I want to do so with consideration, and looking at it. So I'm a little choosy with what I mix, and I don't want to force it one way or another. That's what I consider my role to be. Other people, and it depends what music I'm working on, but you have to remain true to your own principles with what you're doing. So what else can we do with this besides, so down here, and you could do, Bunting shows starting from the top note, so you could hit that note and then start the ornament from below, or maybe not, and maybe you can come up with different ideas how you're going to ornament, yeah? Or what about this? And if I came up to here, I'd want, I don't know if I'd want that last one done like that. To finger this one, I'm going, this one I really like. I do not find this in Bunting's table or at Pew, but the ornament of above and down to the note and over into the note and back to this is reminiscent from the fingerings Piper's lift. And it makes harmony, so I'm doing. So try it on the top one. 2, 4, 1, 2, 1. 2, 4, 1, thumb rest stroke there. 2, 4, 1, that's fast. Just do that much. 2, 4, 1. If it's too hard up there, do it down here. Yeah? Do you have 2, 4, 1? Who has a question? Come up and watch me play it if you have a question. Don't move a lot. If your hand moves a lot doing a thumb rest stroke, it's not in the proper position. Yeah? If you find you have to go like this, then to do a rest stroke, if you go like that, that's where you should start. Lift your thumb and play it from that position. Okay, to go on. So it's 2, 4, 1, 3, 1. It's really pretty on this one. Tried from A. So it's a nice one. What else can we do? How about something like, how about reminiscent of Bunting, but simpler, different harmony? And I really, again, like just slamming the thumbs down like this. You could do it with 2, but again, and you don't have to be so loud. You see what I'm doing? Just the thumb slamming here. It can be loud or, and you could, and so that's kind of nice. You could do, you could try something like this. If you keep it minor, it's more palatable than not, but I tend to not want that kind of flowery thing going. But you can experiment. Look at what Bunting offers, and I would say don't go too far in that direction. It's too pianistic and things. For the Golden Vrasenar, we need to wind it up. The melody being, I use it as a call to arms. This is, you know, like, okay, we're gonna go fight, you know, and very bold. So it could be. That kind of idea, yeah? Or it can be, it could be, or it could be, yeah? And it's really nice to do this. This is a technique in Bunting. I'll do it up here. That's that ghost note. This is shown on, this is the Barloo Falscalcha, the second one on the top page, where I'm only playing CEC here, but I stop the notes. I'll stop the others so you can hear it, but I don't play the top E again, but it's sounding. So I play 3, 2, 4 in damp. So. You could do that one too. On any interval, you could do that. And it's sort of a little spooky that doing it, you're not playing it again, but you can find places in it. But so that's how I handle this 2 ways. It can be call to arms and but I like it on this. That's the one I like it on. And I don't know, I'm undecided whether to use the minor chord or go down to the G there. I like them both. So that, you know, so that's a nice one to do. And then another air in there is just, and he has, Bundy has a Sol major, but I could do this. like to do that little ghost note in here. I sort of like it when I sort of think of it as letting the spirits up, you know, letting the dead go north, or you know, straight up. So I guess that's it. Have fun playing with these things and see how many. There's other things you can work in this and see what kind of techniques you can put into this lament figure. They won't all fit. Oh, one more thing. The chords in the back. I'm usually leaving the third out whenever I put the 10th in above. Like that's just too much. I really want it the chord simpler, and when the 10th or the third of the chord is in, I want it in from the melody end up here. It sounds better. And Bunting gives in manuscripts chords as played by harpers that are beyond what's in this list I've given you. But he has the octaves there, and he shows fourths, which is an inversion. This is for the treble hand. He shows fourths down here, and there's fourths at the bottom of the chords. Like on this hand. So take a look at these for chords that are used, but he does have just a straight, I call these 1-5-1 or 1-5-8 chords, and whether you would go up or play them at once, versions of that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The sample here, cool, this.
Cool Arish.
It's called shape.
By
By first finger and thumb.
As Siobhan, pronounce
Okay.
Cool Arish.
Cool Afrish.
Afrish. I was saying again.
First,
Arish.
cool Irish.
Don't say mine. Copy Siobhan.